WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm at Waterford. Waterford, Irish single malt whiskey, single farm origin, Ballykilcavan Edition 1.2. Very, very good. So I've actually done a video for a few months ago about 1.1, and now we're at 1.2. So what we have here is a very interesting, beautiful blue bottle. We have here a yellow cap, which are actually the colors of Waterford, which I did not know in my first video. So people from Waterford have commented on that video. It's like, duh, everyone in Waterford knows that. Sorry. I'm American, I live in Germany, and I've only been to Waterford once in my life, so I'm learning. All right, very, very good. Now, Mark Rene, he was the guy who did Bruichladdich, and he is a genius, and sometimes even a mad genius, some people would say. And after he had to sell Bruichladdich, he actually bought a old, it wasn't even old, it was refurbished, a modern refurbished brewery from Guinness, from Diageo. John Teeling bought one up in the north above Belfast. He bought his down in Waterford, and he turned it into a magnificent distillery with all these sensors, all these possibilities to actually control what was happening, when it was happening. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. I was there 2 years ago, met up with Ned, the head distiller, and got to go in the blending room. Oh, that was a dream come true. David, great to see you here. Hey, very, very good. So what we have here is a unique system that Waterford is pushing. Mark grew up in France, and he actually grew up on a vineyard type of place. His family owns a Bordeaux type of, what is it called? A Bordeaux, wow, Eric White would kill me now because he's the wine expert. And the place where they make the Bordeaux. And he is wine focused. Even in his time at Bruichladdich, he started off with cuvées. We'll talk about that in a moment, instead of calling it actually just a single malt. Because he mixes different barrels together from the same distillery. He doesn't blend them. He creates a cuvée, and that's very, very important for him. All right, going back to the story here, what we have is a man with a vision, and his vision is to prove that terroir, the earth, the soil, the ground, actually has an influence on the whiskey we drink. Now, I've tasted some of the new make from Waterford and from different farms, and I can say, yes, I definitely see a big difference between them. However, I am still not yet, after tasting 6 different bottles from Waterford, of the opinion that that difference from the soil transfers through the distillation process and more importantly, the maturation process enough so that I can actually tell what the terroir was. So what they do is they actually contract a farmer, 40 different farmers a year. They have, I think, total now over 92 different farmers. And so this is one farmer. And I would like to show you the farmer, which I can do here actually, which is a very, very, very nice thing. So this is the farmer. And actually, you can see him here. That's David Welsh, chemist, together with Grace. She works for Waterford, so she's responsible for quality management at all the different farms. And he actually grew the barley for this whiskey. And so what we do is we actually can see here all the key facts. So this is the 1.2. This is 3 years old, 11 months, and 18 days. We actually know when it was harvested, when it was distilled. We always know there's 9,000 bottles, and Waterford is always 50% ABV, and it's for the markets of Europe and Asia. So all those people in America watching, you will not see this farm, and you will not see this bottle. All right, so we actually have a map down here. I'll take a look at a different map in a moment. You have a sound, sound cloud here from the farm, and you see that actually David only delivered barley for 2015 and 2016. So you have pictures here of the harvest process, which is fantastic. So you can actually see the harvesting. You can see the field, and you can see actually the grain itself. Very, very nicely done. What we also have here, and Waterford is fabulous with transparency. Yay! Sometimes they have to work on one or two little things, but yay, great transparency. So we actually know that the barley was sown on the 19th of March, 2015. We know that it was harvested on the 17th of August. We know that it arrived at the cathedral at the 18th of August. Now, this is what we have to talk about, the cathedral. So I'm going to actually stop showing this and show me again. Because at the cathedral, we have a problem that actually was solved by Waterford. So if you watch Roy, if you watch Aquavite, if you watch other people that are very, very smart in the industry, you know that they have very deeply dived into the whole question of what does it mean to malt barley. And in one of Roy's recent quizzes, he actually asked the question of what is the normal size, a normal batch of barley being malted? And it was 400 to 500 tons. That's 10 40-tonner tractor trailers loaded up into one single batch. Now, that's a whole lot of barley, and what they do normally is they actually put all the barley from all the farmers in a silo, and they call it Irish barley, which would be great. If the Irish distillers would only use Irish barley, wow. If the people in Scotland only use Scottish barley, wow. Think of Bruichladdich that you have their local barley, or the Islay barley. Those are actually the remnants here from Mark that started up this tradition of working with local farms and having that barley just for them. So now what they do there at the cathedral is they actually put the barley from the farmer into one box. And that one box separates everything from the other farmers. So you actually can then malt that one box of barley and then send it to the distillery and actually then be able to process it also correctly. Christian writes here, getting Ballykilcavan and Banal 1 in the next month. Oh, very good. Happy that it actually made it to Canada. Wonderful. I wonder if the terroir will come through much more distinctively with age. 10 years, 15 years. Actually, I expect exactly the opposite, because terroir is very subtle and the wood maturation is very, very dominant. So the longer you have something in the wood, the less and less of the distiller character you even get in Scotland or anything else like that. So I expect exactly the opposite, Christian, so sorry. So whatever happened to the pilgrimage, considering the launch event where they could be distributed was canceled? They did a separate one. There was afterwards there was one, I think it's only about a month ago. And so you still had to go there and so on. And so for us in Germany and other places of the world that did not have the possibility to actually pilgrim to Waterford, that was a little bit of a bust. All right, good. Let's go here back to our single farm, because we had the word cathedral. Arrived at the cathedral on the 18th of August within 24 hours, which is great. And then actually it took them almost 6 months before they actually malted it. So what they do at the cathedral, this is a big building with those cement boxes, is they make sure that the moisture content of the malt is at such a low rate that nothing happens to it. And so it can actually just stay just like in a silo there, no problem. So they malted it on basically there on the beginning or the middle of January, and at the end of January, in the 26th, that malted barley was delivered here to the distillery. So fermentation started on the 4th, distillation started on the 9th. It was filled in the warehouse on the 29th of February, and then, which is very, very interesting, that was all in the year 2016. 4 years later, almost to the day, they actually married the casks, and then on the 8th of July, it was sent for bottling. So we have here the names of the distillers. We have James, Patrick, Ian, and Cian. I've actually talked with Patrick, very interesting guy. I'm not going to show you the video. You have here, actually, let's go here. Wow, somehow I got here absolutely off track here. Let's go back. So I have no idea why that's better here. Okay, good. So you can actually see a map of Ireland here, and you have up here then the farm, and down here you have Waterford. Over here you have Dublin. What you also have, which is fantastic, is you have a little cross section of the soil. So you can see it's very fine, loamy drift, and so on and so on. The height of the elevation, the average sunlight, and all that. Now, what is for me very, very interesting is you have different varieties of yeast. Here we have Taberna. Now, I'm not a yeast expert, but I did Google very briefly before we got here. Hey, Richard, good to see you. Very, very good. Hey, checking in from Ontario. Great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a different screen here, and that is actually this one. Every spring, well, basically every winter, you, the farmer in different places of the world, get a recommendation for different cereals, for different grains. And here we have the 2016 PDF, which I have here. And actually, what we have in this is the different things that were recommended. For example, Taberna, with a relative yield of 98. And so you actually here see the different yields you have here. I've heard of Quelch before. I've heard of Summit before. We have the Tabernea here. We have different things with different yields which are expected. And so there's a whole list here of different things, and we have different recommendations, and you have different factors with different resistance to different things. What I wanted to show was this little line here. This is actually the yield in tons per hectare from 1996 until 2016 in Ireland. Look at this. It went from 6.7 on average all the way up to 7.6. So a whole ton more per hectare yield because they used the right barley. And that's actually amazing is what I think. And that has a lot to do with engineering, not necessarily genetic engineering, but breeding and so on. And so who knows here. All right, very, very good. Richard asks, Christian, whereabouts are you that you're getting Waterford in Canada? Canada is actually like a prison for whiskey. Nothing gets out that's good, and nothing that gets in that is good either. All right, so what I want to do is actually compare it to 1.1. So I have my sample bottle here, and I'd like to compare the 1.1 to the 1.2 and explain a little bit more about what's happening here. So what happens is in the year, in this case, we have the year 2015. Let me make sure I get my facts here right. So going back to my timeline, the year 2015, the farmer here, Mr. David, actually produced enough barley for the cathedral for Waterford so that they could produce 36,000 bottles. Why 36,000 bottles? Because each and every release, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 is 9,000 bottles. All right, so here we have 1.2, which means this is older than the 1.1. 1.1 is basically the 3 years and 4 months. This is 3 years and almost 12 months. And then one day there's going to be a 1.3 that is even older. And what I'm really looking forward to is the 1.4, which is even older. And then what happens is, maybe in between as well, is they'll start with the 2. The 2 will be, in this case, then the barley that came from the year 2016. 1 year later, also 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. There will not be a 1.8. There will not be something like that. It's always going to be 1 to 4 because they have enough barley and they have enough barrels and they have enough bottles to do those batches of 9,000 each. So what type of wood was used here? Once again, I can show this, which I think is the greatest thing about the transparency here of Waterford. Getting by the map, is we actually have the different casks that were here used. Now, what we have in Waterford is normally 4 type of woods. We have the first fill US, which are first fill bourbon casks. We have then we have the virgin US oak, we have the premium French oak, and we have the vin du natural, which I have a little bit of problem with, which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, this was one of the very, 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 very first bottles they did, and the barrels from Kelvin Cooperage, which is their supplier for the virgin US oak, had not arrived yet. So this is a unicorn in the Waterford world. So what we have here is we actually have the cask numbers. We have 510, 511, 512, 513, and blah, 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 blah. We have the fill date, which is absolute fantastic. We have here something called vin du natural, which is then natural spirits from the wine stock. And what usually is here is then by Waterford, then the name of the spirit that was in the cask beforehand. Almost everything we're going to try today, I have all 4 expressions here, by the way, is oloroso. And here we just have the name of the cooperage, which I think is a little bit a shame. So usually they have about 1,000 liters that go in here. In this case, they had 4 that were 250, 225. So it actually adds up to about 900 liters. And then you have the premium French oak. I think that is virgin oak. And then you also have the name of the cooperage that did it there. So what is a little bit not great. Hello, Waterford, if you're listening this far, I would expect here the barrels to actually match up the barrels here above. So you have, for example, 4 barrels from Vin du Naturel, VDN, and here you have 0. And so if you could get the barrels to match this, it'd be great. The percentages match up. Maybe just get the percentages to match up. I don't know, but that's a little bit confusing in my case. All right. So going back now to the chat and to you, David said, I'd love to try whiskey from a farm in Connemara, which has peaty and mineral-rich soil. I'd be interested to see if peat tastes come through distillation without actually peating the barley. Good question. Good question. When I was in Connemara, I didn't see any peat. I saw some bogs, basically, but I didn't really see any farms that had the peat. It was very, very hilly there. We went cycling, and all right, good. Why not? Maybe. So we'll see what happens. You could actually go on the site here by Waterford and maybe research the different soil types that are actually used. And but Waterford would like to have it closer to Waterford as all possible. Marc René is convinced that the best barley in the world is grown in that southeastern territory of Ireland, not necessarily in the northwest. All right, so interesting. Interesting. Now, what I have here, as I said, this is the younger and this is the older. This is the 1.1, this is the 1.2. If I look at the color here, there's actually, and I don't understand this, the 1.1 looks a little darker than the 1.2. Why? I have no idea, because actually more time in the cask should mean older, should mean more color, should mean darker colors. And the next thing that's very, very apparent for me is the smell. This smells younger. I have a metallic type of a moment in this, and it's very, very alcoholic. This has deeper notes. Now, I must admit, I've tried today alone 4 different whiskeys from Waterford. Sheestown, that's a 1.1. The Banno Island 1.2, which was also here, 1.1 and 1.2. I'll do that next, as well as here the Ballymorgan. And of all 4 of these, this is my least favorite. And I think it has to do with 2 factors. Factor number 1, no virgin oak. I like virgin oak, apparently. And number 2, I don't know what the VDN casks are. It doesn't say Oloroso, and it doesn't smell like Oloroso. It could be, but it's not. When I was talking with the master distiller, with Patrick, I said, hey, you guys are transparency number 1. That's your number 1 thing. And then you make me, the consumer, guess what the casks that are used? Come on, guys, be more transparent with your VDN casks. Really, really, really. So, yes, that's exactly right, David. Mark and the other folks behind Waterford have also, well, his investors, not his distillers, have also recently opened a terroir-driven rum distillery, and he's very excited about that in the Grenada and the Caribbean. So some rum caps might eventually end up in Waterford. All right, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? That would be a VDN cask as well for him. VDN just means anything he wants to put in there. It could be port, it could be different types of sherry, it could be any type of fortified or red wines. It's a lot. And so, who knows? All right, let's taste this. I get a very sulfur moment. And that's what really, really turns me off. I think it's all VinPF, and VinPF, and I know I am sometimes as well. We're almost oversensitive to sulfur. Another interesting fact, all the Waterford bottlings are at 50%. And every single time I taste this, I get something that's very similar to Bruichladdich, the classic laddie, which also 50%. So he's really going for that style there. Yeah, not bad, not great. young. Let's go back to the 1.1. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's really, really evident the development this whiskey has made in the casks. Giving that longer time, whoops, don't swallow and speak, giving it a longer time in the casks, maybe about 10-15% longer in this case, really does make a difference, because this is very young, very a lot of alcohol, and a tiny little bit of metallic moment is in there, tipping off the youth of this bottling here. Now, my suggestion would actually be, if you're going to look for Waterford in the future, I'm talking about after the first hype is over. Yeah, at the moment, all over the world, anyone who hears Mark Renee's name and Waterford go, oh, Buchladi, a new one. Oh, I want to have it. And there's a massive run on all these bottles. When that's over, let's say next year, 2021, and maybe the 13th edition of Waterford has finally reached the coast of the US or the continent or wherever else you are. Take a look and try to maybe avoid the 1.1s or the 2.1s or 3.1s or even something else. Try to maybe actually take a look here and go for the 1.3s, the 1.4s. Those are the ones that are going to have the longest time in the cask and the longest time to mature. And I think that is actually something I'm going to do in the future as well, because there's no way in the world that we can collect them all. First of all, they're divided up into regions. US gets different ones from Europe. Sometimes Asia gets different ones. I'm not even sure what Australia is going to get, or Africa, or South America, or Tribal Retail. All these different places are getting different bottles and different farms. So no way in the world will I ever be able to get them all. And then also, these are not something I think that are going to be collector items. Yeah, who cares about the first bottling here from Waterford in 5 years from now? Who cares about the first Aaron bottling 25 years ago? Do you have anyone going, oh, I need to have it? Or even the first Kilchoman bottling ever? Those are not the good ones. The good ones are those that come in after 10 years. Those are the bottles we're going to look for. Those are the bottles we're going to cherish. Those are the bottles we're going to go, wow, about. All right, so for all those trying to do that, get rid of the bottles now when you can get a great price from them, and don't put them away and let them become dusties, and you're going to go, oh, why did I do that? All right, so what's going to happen now is I'm going to stop the video in about 2 minutes, and I'm going to start a new one. So there's going to be a total of 4 videos today. Why? Because Google likes that. Google likes the search engine possibility of actually searching here for the Ballykilcavan, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to see what's going to happen and see what's going to develop here. I invite you to move on over to the next video in a few moments, either on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you're watching. If you have any questions, post them now, and I will try to also review them in the next video. I would give this actually a C- in my opinion. This is not my favorite Waterford. This is not something really, really up my valley, because of that sulfur moment. It's really something I don't like. It's still not old enough to say, wow, I'm going to really, really write home about this. Value for money over here in Europe, I'm paying 69.90, so 70 euros for that, for a no age or a less than 4-year-old statement whiskey, which is a lot of money. Now, I'm sure the cork here with the glass topper and the nice little plastic here ring around there as a gasket works out just fine. And these toppers actually are very, very nice. Even here you have the little symbol here of Waterford on there. Well designed, well done. Even here with the nice little rings. It's very, very good to hold, and it's not the odd chance it'll slip through your fingers, because just like when you have here traction, very well done, I must admit. Very, very nice. And every single bottle has here the little code. You put the code in and you get to go to the place where I just went to and get to know all that information about the whiskey. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right, thank you very much for watching. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of American. 3 more videos are going to happen here and then in this evening, and I look forward to seeing you there. All the best. Thank you very much for watching.